Civic Leadership 10 focuses on the theme and importance of water, local and global. Sawyer Paulson and Joe Ferroha interviewed Mr. Kevin Quinlan from Glenelg Country School concerning the on-campus pond. Out behind the music trailers, past the baseball field, and down a short path leads Glenelg Country School's campus jewel, the pond. The pond is home to many creatures, ranging from microscopic to macroscopic. There is a great deal of diversity that can be found. The pond has a lot to offer the science classes, from starting years all the way up to the upper school. This editorial will explain the various ecosystems that exist with the pond, the growth of it over the years, and what the future could look like, as well as why it's important. The pond is home to 3 different types of ecosystem groups, one with microorganisms, one with plants, and one with animals. Starting with the smallest, the microhabitat thrives in the pond. A good deal of bacteria survive in the water and keep it somewhat regular, making sure the traits do not change rapidly. Planaria, ostracods, and water mites are all things to be found when looking with the assistance of a microscope. The plants, like the surrounding grass, trees, and bushes, help keep the food chain alive and well, providing energy and shade to the organisms that frequent around the pond. For the animals, fish, like sunfish for example, reproduce and populate the underwater portion. Land animals, such as deer or geese, come to the pond to drink, clean, or sometimes look for food. The pond's myriad of interactions all combine to form a valuable look at nature that is easily accessible. Over its lifetime, the pond underwent a good amount of change to its being. Of course, as time goes by, the trees and bushes nearby grow and flourish, but also more animals frequent nearby the pond, like geese or deer. Quinlan noted how particularly harsh summer floods that occurred in 2015 led to an increase in sediment at the mouth of the pond, and in turn led to the cultivation of a large amount of plant life in that area. Another large change the pond saw was quite bizarre. The body of water itself has a sub-pond where water would run off, making sure that it did not overflow too much, which had its own ecosystem. Upon returning from a vacation, Quinlan found the entire area completely changed.
Somebody went in there, I'm not sure who it was, but it was all eradicated. So it turned all of the shade, all of the little microhabitats that had come about from the grasses and the small trees was just completely eradicated. And then the sun was beaten down on that pond, so it became hostile for living organisms. And it took I think that looked to me like about 6 or 7 years worth of growth. And it was hacked away, and it really changed the feel of that overflow pond.
It is still unknown. As for problems with the pond, Quinlan says that there are only 2 that could be of any concern. The first is the gradual increase in sediment collecting at the bottom, which could possibly shallow the pond and over time hurt its lifestyle. After that, stream feeding into the pond is lacking some of the dissolved oxygen that it usually would have, which is having some adverse effects on the pond and having a little bit of effect on what creatures can live in it. So, what does the future of the pond look like? Well, life will continue. More and more organisms will come to the habitat and enrich the diversity found right here on campus. As for the overflow pond, the deconstruction is merely a setback, and in a few years it will return to its previous state, and hopefully this time will be allowed to remain that way. The 2 problems of silt collection and lack of oxygen can be solved, but do require attention from the school to gain any sort of progress. As of the time of recording, GCS has shown neither interest or disinterest towards the projects. They should invest into the pond, however. It is a unique asset that Glenelg has and should not be left unattended. The pond provides special opportunities to those learning to really have a hands-on experience when it comes to dealing with things from life science to AP biology. They can easily see how this life can spread and interact. When asked on why he specifically takes classes down to the pond, Quinlan responded with,
There's a couple things I want them to learn. First, I want them to learn how to observe nature, and I want them to deepen their appreciation for their natural surroundings, and the pond is an ideal spot for that. I also want them to learn how to use all of their senses. So we go down often and do journal writing, and I encourage them to use their noses, their eyes, their ears, and their fingertips.
Knowing about the inhabitants of the pond's history, and what its future could look like, its importance should be clear. As for Quinlan's own feelings, he states,
Personally, I'm okay with that. I like natural settings.
Water resources should be important for the school, but also to the world. Ponds like this used to be all over the U.S., but with the expansion of cities and suburban areas, few remain compared to what there used to be. Hopefully Glenelg will see that it has a jewel that lies secluded back near the end of campus, and give it the care it truly deserves.